Maybe one day we'll talk about artists and how much they get paid. It's
Let's not.
quite. Hello and welcome to 7Robots.
Fantastically Terrible Podcast. Episode 19. Break out of your comfort zone.
You recently started something new and you seem to be enjoying it.
Yes, I started Pixel Edit.
And Pixel Edit is a program for pixel art, as they say, tile set creation.
And animation. Yeah, it's basically for video games.
Why would you use that and not something else?
Oh, you could use others, but the way that you're able to export things, and it's just very geared towards pixel art.
Okay.
I mean, you could use Photoshop, but it's specifically for that.
And your experience is good using it?
I think, yeah, it's great. I mean, I think it's very intuitive. Right now, I'm taking a course through Domestika, which I'm enjoying very much. The course had me up and running pretty quickly.
You started the course 1 or 2 weeks ago?
3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago. And you just do it whenever you have time.
That's right.
Pixel Edit and the classes at Domestika are very inexpensive.
Very inexpensive. Yeah.
Which was another reason why I thought you'd give it a try.
The same thing with Pixel Edit was $9.99. I mean, you can give more if you want to, because for the developers.
Always a good idea.
Always a good idea.
And no, this isn't a commercial, and no, we're not getting anything from this,
No,
although
nothing.
we always can. But no, it's just to share your experience with starting pixel art and pixel animation, 2D animation.
Yeah,
Why did you wait so long to try some animation?
because it was intimidating. The static image was, I guess, more comforting. There's certain things you have to let go once you start getting into animation. And there's things that you have to be much more exact, and that's movement. And that's very intimidating. Because one thing is getting one pose. Another thing is getting like 180 poses. And making it all look like it flows. That's just, to me, magic.
Yeah, it is. There is something magical about an animation, I think.
Yeah, there is.
So this course, walk us through it.
The first course, because there was the one course that I took, it was character animation with using Pixel Edit. It's for video games.
Okay.
I can handle that. You know, like 8-bit Mario. I'm like, all right.
Mario, Luigi.
You can't really go that wrong with it.
Right,
so I
right.
think it was more of a safety issue. Plus, I love video games, and our kids love playing the retro video games, which kind of got me intrigued and got me into it,
I find it interesting their role in all of this and getting you to try something new,
which is something old.
which is old. Yeah, exactly. They brought you back to classic old games.
Yeah, it's strange.
Eventually, we'll have maybe a little family animation and a little family video game.
Right.
Maybe.
That's
Create a
my
little
goal.
free video game.
That's the goal. So when I first started using Pixel Edit, I didn't start animating. I started sitting and just doing how I use Photoshop, illustrating. So I did some pixel art pieces. I did from the heavy metal movie, the character Tarna. It's an old movie for those who might not know. And I did a whole bunch of different variations on her, but I was really playing around with the idea of how could I take this character and do all these crazy 8-bit type stuff and all
Have
the
you
variations.
posted those yet?
No, I have not.
So that might be a good thing to include in the post. We'll have links to everything, as always, in the blog post that goes with this episode. So you did her in lots of different styles, all the way down to a basic pixel art Atari type character. You did a chibi version. You did a cutesy anime version. Very interesting.
I really wanted to explore to see what could you get away with one end and minimize all that.
What that process did was it helped you to focus on the essential elements of the character
Yes.
and how to create a character that was distinct when you only have a very low pixel count in order to do it.
Right.
And you had found a picture that someone had created with these tiny little 8-bit versions. Everything from Pac-Man and the Ghosts to Bart Simpson to Adventure Time to Street Fighter. And it was amazing to see that we could identify all of them, even though there were these tiny little characters. And I'll post this so you could see as well. And it's very cool to see what makes a unique character
It's a silhouette.
in Japan, and I'm sure other places. They really focus on the silhouette of the character. What makes this character distinctive?
Mm-hmm. In the course I'm taking, the instructor talks about that. Even for poses, too. If a pose isn't clear, look at it in terms of the silhouette, and you'll see if it works or it doesn't work.
Right, right. I think it's a good lesson in that, especially for developing characters. It could just be my impression, but there's a lot of U.S. comics, North American, I don't know, Western comics, where it's not too distinctive one character from another other than clothes and hair.
I've been seeing more of that sort of clear up a little bit.
And by hair, it might only be hair color.
Right, but I've seen that clear up a little bit. There was a period of time where it was really hard.
I think that's though because of the global influence.
Agreed, yeah. But there was a period of time where it was...
Yeah, the only difference was hair color and eye color.
If he had a cape or he didn't have a cape.
If you look at all the women in the Marvel comics, what's the difference? For a period of time. Outfits.
Yeah.
If you're an artist and you want to challenge yourself a little bit, how can I still maintain my character and still identify it with fewer elements?
It's like you're throwing stuff out.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, I can get rid of this.
How much can I remove, and it still looks like my character?
I got down to the point where I even threw out her eyes.
Just to see.
Just to see.
Yeah. Remove things and add things and see what you can get away with.
It's pretty wild. And it was fun. I'm going to do that too with Mobius's character, Artzak. That's such a beautifully illustrated,
yeah, if you're not familiar with Mobius or Jean Giraud,
then shame on you.
Yeah, please. Just do a Google search and look up his work. It's gorgeous.
You've seen his work.
Fantasy. He worked on movies. We actually mentioned him in a previous episode.
Yeah. You've seen his work. If you've seen Tron, if you've seen The Abyss, Aliens, you've seen his work. Jodorowsky's
Dune, we mentioned him.
Fantastically Terrible. Yeah, and you'll find out why the show's called that if you listen to that. I think it's a wonderful exercise to do that. And, it lends itself to two things. You get to learn the program while you're doing it, and you get to also practice minimizing stuff.
Part of taking a simple class like this and trying it out, you also get familiar with the terms and the terminology.
Oh, yeah, he breaks it down for you. It was a very good course because he also got me to remember some of my color theory, because color schemes are very important in video games. So you might not have anatomy and all the other crazy stuff that you have to super worry about. You got movement, and then you got color schemes that are very, very important. Now, once I moved over from the illustration, I got into animation.
So once you felt comfortable, you could dip your toe into animation.
Right. And it was built right into the program. It has onion skinning, so you can see the previous frame, or you can see the frame ahead. So in this way, you're able to work out any problems you might be having with the animation.
Yeah, you can add your in-betweens.
Right. It's for your in-betweens. So I started out with just a simple exercise, the bouncing ball, and tinkering around with it, and it's fun. I did the Yeti walking, a little bit of a swagger.
Mm-hmm.
And
I'll add those all to the post as well so people can see. Because you're still doing the course right now.
Right. And I'm actually posting up little by little on Instagram.
Your Instagram, on Twitter.
And Twitter. I've been posting that up. So you see my progress. I take from the rough drawing, I call it the pencil test. I don't know what it's called in the video game world, but animation, it's the pencil test. And then I was just sharpening it little by little. It's a lot of fun in terms of...
I do notice you're having fun with this.
Yes.
It must be very cool, not only to see your art, which is always amazing to see your finished art, but you get to see it move.
Yes, because a long time ago, I studied film, and in my head, I have all these ideas. They move in my head. They're not like static. So it's interesting doing comics. You're picking the best frames or the best poses, followed by another pose. But you don't have to draw the poses in between each panel. With animation, you have to. So it's sort of interesting seeing that and seeing it actually really move, as opposed to giving the impression or allowing the reader then to fill in the gaps in between.
Yeah, with animation, there are no gaps. You fill them in. And if something's missing, the viewer will notice.
That's right. And I think that was sort of intimidating for me a long time ago.
Right. It used to be expensive, too. Now there's so many cheap and free programs. It's so accessible now. As we mentioned, you avoided getting into animation for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
You had a picture of animation and this hand-drawn frame by frame people slaving over a desk, which is still true in anime from what I've seen.
Yeah,
I was
that's
reading
true.
about how poorly paid those poor artists are,
Yeah, I've known
even
that for
though it's
years.
like a multi-billion or even trillion-dollar industry for Japan. But anyways, that's another topic.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe one day we'll talk about artists and how much they get paid. It's
Let's not.
quite it's quite interesting. You had that extra motivation of doing something with our kids.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a little nudge to get you to try something different.
Yes, because
It can be difficult to try something different.
Because I want to
Anything
get
from-
them into the creative process too.
Mhm.
Because it's very easy to get roped into finished stuff that's already made. So I wanted to get them involved in a creative process. Inadvertently, I got caught up in that creative process.
Right. So that kind of brings me to my next topic,
Okay.
which is people sometimes, especially as adults, have a hard time trying something different.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be for lots of reasons.
Intimidation.
Yes. Sometimes you are, as you said, intimidated. You could feel like you don't want to start from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you might feel like, oh, I'm a really good artist, but I don't want to go into animation because then I have to learn everything from zero.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not really true because all of the skills that you have from being an artist, you can transition over into animation. So you're never starting from scratch. There's also
The fear of failure. The fear that you have to be perfect at what you want, you're going to do, that you have to be just as good as what you're doing before. Also, to learning a new medium. It's hard. It's not easy. But to overcome that, you should do it. Try it. If you fail, you know it's just between you and yourself. You don't put it out there, right?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be public failure. You could also be successful in what you're doing.
Mm-hmm, yeah. And you think that, if I change this up, it's going to ruin everything. And if that ruins everything just because I tried this, everything just comes tumbling down.
Well, it's sort of fear of failure again. But yeah, if you have something that's successful, you're afraid the next thing will not be as successful.
Yeah, so you're kind of defending your current success by
Just repeating what you're doing over and over again.
Yeah, and that can have some issues. The human mind will trick you into all sorts of defensive mechanisms to keep you from jumping to try to do something new.
Mm-hmm.
It could be the other danger where all you're doing is something new and you're never really kind of fine-tuning and refining that one thing that you have. But I think it's important, too, to try new things, even if it's experimental.
Keeping your curiosity alive.
Yeah, like it doesn't have to bring you monetary compensation.
But in art and the way, especially if you're a freelance artist, it's a good idea to look into lots of different things. And it is hard to make the time to learn something. That could be another big reason.
Especially after a long day of drawing.
Exactly.
The last thing you want to do is draw more.
The whole issue of time is a valid one.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it shouldn't keep you from trying something.
And not to plug Domestica again, but I'm very happy with it because it got me up and running quickly.
If you're a professional artist, freelancing, what doesn't matter, you might need an extra motivation. So what would that motivation be? And with us, I think it's because we actually wanted to try getting into very simple video games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've been wanting that for years now.
And we do have simple storylines. We're like, oh, this would make a cool game. And who are you going to ask? No one, crickets, there's no one around. It's us again. Like always with our stuff. So,
and sometimes I look through my sketchbook and I'm like, this character looks pretty cool, but where would I put him? And I thought, video game character.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go right back to what you just said. And who's going to make them? Crickets? Us.
Yeah, and it took years because it takes a long time to do things.
And, technology and programs are getting much better each year.
Yes.
And there's new things that are just sort of popping up.
I love all these new companies that come out with free or inexpensive software. I see so many people who used to love Photoshop who now never touch it. They use Clip
The
Studio
subscription?
Paint. They use, what's that one that we downloaded we haven't tried yet?
Affinity.
I see so many alternatives now because they're milking it.
Well, it's been a long time coming. One of the things I love about Pixel Edit is that you're able to select the shading. You can select a color, you get to the color dialog box, and you can select the hue or the shaded color. They have it specific so you can see each of the colors that are going to be down from that.
So, as you can see, there are many reasons why an artist might feel like they're not ready to start something different. But it is important to make sure why you're not trying that new skill. Is it because you don't need it at all, so why bother? Or is it because something is blocking you, fear of something?
I sometimes feel that the reason people don't learn a new skill set within the art world is because we disassociate one skill set from another. So
There's
animation from illustration, too many separations. So if you see it as a seamless, one feeds off the other, then I think that kind of takes some of the fear away.
Yeah, when you think of animation and video games, you do think more programming.
Right.
And more technical.
Seeing the separation of the barriers allows you to improve your skill set.
Let's say you have a successful comic, you have a successful webtoon or tapas or something. And what if someone does approach you about animation? Or wouldn't you like to see it animated? Of course, everyone would love to see their comic animated. Right. I mean, that's crazy.
Well,
all of it is related. And if things do get successful, one will lead into the other.
Right. As an exaggerated point, say you do have a super successful comic. The importance of doing animation, I always think of Akira. Katsuhiro Otomo, the
insane genius
that
brought us Akira.
The insane madman that decided, I'm going to storyboard the entire movie based on my comic.
It was a brilliant movie, though.
If my information is correct, he did all the keyframes to that thing. Say your comic gets picked up for Netflix and now it's going to become a cartoon. Mm-hmm. By having that skill set, you will be able then to...
You can be part of that process.
You can be part of the process.
And if you never get picked up by anything, animate your own stuff. It'll look awesome.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. But that should motivate you.
Yeah, knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power. So there's all the benefits to it. There's more benefits than downside. The downside is that you have to do it, you know.
Right. I mean, if you have no interest at all, then don't bother.
No, don't.
But if it's something that's keeping you from, even though deep down you want to. With you, for a long time, you did not touch animation. It was just a real block. And you finally did it. And you're having a lot of fun with it.
Now it's time for the Fantastically Terrible Character or Creature. And what do we have today?
This week it's the Ass of Balaam.
Sounds interesting.
This is actually from the Bible. It's our first biblical creature.
This is not Sunday school, is it?
No. It's from Numbers 22. Balaam was a prophet of Israel.
Right.
But from what I gather, not the most moral person.
Okay.
Which is odd, because he's a prophet.
Makes it interesting.
You know, why did God reveal things to him? I have no idea.
Maybe he was bored.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm just going to pick this guy.
In this story, Balaam was going to get paid by King Balak of Moab to put a curse on Israel.
Nice.
So needless to say, God was not very happy with this curses for profit idea.
And selling out his people.
And exactly. So we start off the story with Balaam getting up in the morning, saddling up his donkey, and going with the officials to meet the king.
Okay.
And God, as we mentioned, was not too keen on this and sent an angel. When the donkey saw the angel standing in the road with a sword in hand, it did what anyone would do, and that was to get at a dodge quick. He ran off the road and into a field.
Yeah, I think if I saw some...
A natural reaction, right?
Winged or light being with a sword, I'd jump out of the way.
Balaam, unfortunately, had no clue and beat the poor donkey.
Jeez.
Got him back on the road. Then the angel stood in a narrow path with walls on both sides. Mm-hmm. When the donkey saw the angel, it backed up.
Naturally.
It backed up against the wall because it had nowhere else to go and crushed Balaam's foot. So Balaam...
Lost his cool
and beat the poor donkey again.
Beat him again. Poor donkey.
Poor thing. Then the angel moved to a spot that was very narrow, and there was no room to turn either to the right or the left.
Right.
When the donkey saw the angel, he couldn't move. He hit the pavement.
Hey, donkey's got to do what a donkey's got to do.
Head down, hits the pavement. Balaam is furious.
Right.
And beats the donkey with his staff. Then the Lord had enough at this point.
Right.
He used the donkey's mouth to talk to Balaam and said, "Hey, what have I done to make you beat me 3 times?" Again, I'm paraphrasing all of this.
Right. So Balaam thinks this is normal?
Balaam apparently, instead of freaking out, which would be a normal reaction,
yeah,
he decides to argue with the donkey. He's furious. He's stubborn.
Yeah.
And Balaam says, "You've made a fool out of me.
Right.
If I had a sword in my hand, I'd kill you right now." Then the donkey has to point out the obvious.
The donkey.
And he said, buddy, it's me, the same donkey you've always ridden. Has this ever happened before? So Balaam had to shrug and say, yeah, I guess not. Can't say that it has.
What an ass.
Then God opened Balaam's eyes, and he finally saw the angel of the Lord, who was standing in the road with the sword in his hand. So, of course, Balaam, face down, hits the pavement.
So does he say, "Balaam, you're an ass"?
Well, his face, I think, said it all. He was mad.
And I don't mean the donkey next to you.
Well, the angel apparently asked him, "Why'd you beat your donkey 3 times? I came here to stop you, you big fat idiot."
So you could just see the angel just shaking his head going, "What is
Oh
he
my
doing?"
gosh. So the angel's defending the donkey and saying, "It saw me 3 times and turned away. If it wasn't for your donkey, I would have killed your sorry ass and spared the donkey." Again, I'm paraphrasing.
So the story should be, who's the real ass of Balaam?
Ah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah, well, so some other morals. Sometimes you do feel like an ass when you do the right thing. But do it anyway. Or perhaps don't avoid doing the obvious because you've made other plans.
Or don't sell your people out.
For a bribe.
For a bribe.
Lots of morals we can take from this story. And if a donkey talks to you, stop arguing. Your point is lost.
If a donkey starts talking to me, my smartphone's coming out and I'm recording that, okay? Because I want to make sure I'm not crazy. That's it for today. 7 Robots, Fantastically Terrible. Podcast is by Miguel Guerra and Susie Diaz. Our theme song is by Susie.
The best way to support our podcast is to leave a review on iTunes. This helps others to find us, and we can see your name and personally thank you live on the show. For more information on the episode, including links to everything we've referenced, please visit our website at www.7robots.com/podcast.
For something different, we invite you to read our free comics on Webtoon. Ghost Metal is a series of 100 original horror sci-fi stories that you should definitely read with the lights on. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.